Move it, move it. Hello, my name is Matthew, and I was running some errands today, and I found myself in a shopping center that had a Goodwill. And I've passed this shopping center, I've passed this Goodwill countless times, and I had some time and had some interest, and I thought I'll go in and just see what the book section looks like. It occurred to me, for the little town that I live in, this Goodwill probably has the widest selection of books in the town. And all of a sudden I was very curious, and the more I thought about it, the more I just liked the idea. A, a bookstore, a big sprawling bookstore like Barnes and Noble, is great for a big selection, a wide array of sections that have all sorts of different topics, and you can browse around. But a used bookstore or a Goodwill, the one that I went to, had a tiny corner with a handful of bookshelves. It was an extremely limited selection, but it's a product of the books that have been brought in by the people that live in the area. So in some ways you get this like representation of what's being read around in your town. I kind of liked that. So I picked up a handful of books. The only reason I got any of them is because it's so cheap. I got a good handful for less than $10. And it's funny walking around these, being in a used bookstore like this, a really limited selection, and seeing a lot of names that I recognize, but not really seeing a wide selection of books that match my own sensibilities. And so seeing a lot of like Lee Childs, or all of those Jason Bourne novels and all the Daniel Steele novels. I saw a lot of Michener, but just funny to me looking at all of these books and going like, I haven't read it. I haven't read any of these. And unlike some bookstores where you can find your section, there's gonna be all sorts of things that you're either aware of or knowledgeable of, or interested in, and things that you've already read. Maybe you can find different editions. Here I'm kind of hunting around, seeing if there's anything that I would even want to pick up. And it's a great barometer in a situation like that. The books that you just all of a sudden have in your hand. So the first three that I picked up were Agatha Christie novels. And she wrote, I guess, hundreds of books. I'm not sure. I've always had a good time reading Agatha Christie. And these are those kind of classic, terrific, pocket-sized paperbacks. They have these really great covers. So this is After the Funeral. And it says, real small at the bottom, it says, previously titled Funerals Are Fatal. And this is going to be a Poirot mystery, so that, I think it was Belgian, but the genius detective with the distinct mustache. And The Secret Adversary, it has this kind of reflective, detailed stamp on it, which is quite nice. And this is a Tommy and Tuppence mystery. So this is a series of Agatha Christie novels that I'm not familiar with at all. And then a Caribbean mystery. And this is a Jane Marple murder mystery. And it says Agatha Christie, author of Curtain. That's great. And then you have, there's Miss Marple on the back. I usually associate Agatha Christie with summertime reading, but I am just so pleased for hardly anything at all, and I wouldn't have um, picked them up or thought about it or had them in my hands now if they weren't just right in front of me, which is great. That's the great fun of going to a bookstore instead of shopping online. I got A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. Green cover. It's a Penguin Viking, a Viking critical edition. And I have a very nice Penguin hardback cover of A Portrait of the Artist. I've never read that edition. It's just very pretty looking. My last copy of A Portrait of the Artist was a used copy. It had a ripped cover. It was old and battered, and I read it, and it fell apart. I had it for a while, but at some point the binding just completely cracked, and I got rid of it. And maybe next year for one of the BookTube events, whenever Bloomsday is going on, or if there's any James Joyce events. It's been forever since I've read A Portrait of the Artist. And I remember being so surprised by the beginning, because this is a very serious novel, and it's James Joyce, and this high level literary, intellectual, and all the things that you might hear about James Joyce. And on the first page, it says moo cows. Because once upon a time, and a very good time it was, there was a moo cow coming along the road, and this moo cow that was coming along the road met a nice'ns little boy named Baby Tuckoo. I remember reading that, and it was the last kind of opening passage that I would have expected. I love the opening line of Ulysses, where it goes, what is it? It's like, stately plump, Buck Mulligan comes down the barhead, or something like that. I do like that beginning. And apparently there's people that live in my little area that have ethics. And this is, it's a modern library edition of a collection of the essential writings of ethics. And I was looking at the table of contents. Let's see. So, Plato, the Credo and Republic, Aristotle, Epictetus, St. Augustine, St. Thomas Aquinas, Thomas Hobbes, David Hume, Immanuel Kant, John Stuart Mill, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, and then a selection of modern philosophers. So Ruth Benedict, Mary Midgley, there's Sartre, a whole bunch of people I'm not familiar with, but I do like, I like a lot of those authors that I mentioned, but for what it was, I thought, sure, when I'm in the mood, I'll have it. And dropped all the books. The last book is short stories by George Saunders, and this is 10th of December. I've never read any of these stories, but I always hear George Saunders' name spoken quite well of. I don't think I've ever heard a bad thing about George Saunders. This is from Jennifer Egan. I don't know who that is. These stories are George Saunders at his most subversive, hilarious, emotionally piercing. Few writers can encompass that range of adjectives, but Saunders is a true original, restlessly inventive, yet deeply humane. And then Zadie Smith says, not since Twain has America produced a satirist this funny. And I love satire, and I love humor, and I love laughing. So it's great. A great little short story collection. Um, I don't know. This thing has tons of blurbs. Well, yeah, and anyway. And then there's short stories in here. But a visit to the Goodwill. And I feel like I walked out with a good handful of great little books. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you go to your Goodwill and what their book section's like, if you care to share. But thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you would like, and take care.